welcome to another episode of Husbands Watching Housewives. I'm Scott.
And I'm Jeff.
And we just watched the first episode of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion.
Yes, season 5 reunion, part 1.
Season 5 already.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It was a good reunion.
Yeah, it was a good start. I think as it gets wider, because there's really, obviously it's going to be focused on like certain, it was a lot of Bronwyn and a lot of Lisa. So I think, as we get more into the other people, like I'd like to, see more of Angie. She is like at the first chair. So
true.
So
I do find often, like when we do these episodes about reunions, that I'm a little like at a loss for like, where do you latch on? Like, because oftentimes I feel like they try to reconcile everything. They try to make things make sense, and they just don't. But I feel like this episode made a lot of sense out of the things they talked about. It's like I don't feel like I'm still wanting more. Like obviously the cliffhanger, that it's meant to do that. But I feel like they got in depth enough where they needed to get in depth, and I feel good about it. So
yeah. So,
everyone's looks. Should we go over those first? Seen them in movement and on.
Yeah, no, there's like Lisa's dress looks better.
So much better.
Not in person, but like on TV rather than in online.
Right.
Print.
The photos they took look very, very basic dress.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't love it, but like I like the color better on camera than I did on those pictures that I saw.
Well, also now that you can see that they're having the two first chairs wear kind of their own unique color compared to the rest, like it makes more sense. Like okay, I see why she's wearing that. The fact that it's kind of just not a basic, it's a nice dress, but it's kind of a macrame string dress.
It's simple bridesmaids type dress. Yeah.
I mean, I can see that, but like it's a little bit above, like
Heather's
above
one notch, but slightly one notch.
Yeah.
I think Heather's too is like also very bridesmaidy. Like people have said online that they had a similar dress, and I feel like the whole couch is just like Meredith's dress design by Brooks. It's just like, and then like it's so editing to have her go back and forth,
with and without the
it's
shawl.
like,
that's all you can call that, right?
Yeah. Which just seemed very matronly, but obviously it's like they had it without and they put it on, and it's like you should have known that was going to happen. They probably like hated it.
It's cold in there, I'm sure.
Yes, and they probably hated the shawl because it was going to mess up their editing, because you could see,
right?
Yeah. And I think the other side, I felt bad for Whitney that she was just so crowded by Bronwyn's dress.
It took me a while. Like I mentioned at one point, I said it was her body language. Like she was clearly like steered away from Bronwyn, but you pointed out she had to be from the dress,
because the sleeves, even like when Bronwyn unfortunately turned
to like her hand on Todd's hand.
Like Whitney's like, I'm literally being shoved off the couch. Like Whitney should have been third chair.
Just because of the dress?
Yeah, because it also had like a huge train as well. And I think it was just so much stress. It needed to have its own moment at the end of the couch. Also being her first reunion, if I was Whitney, I'd be like, I'm doubly offended.
Well, maybe they're sending a message to Whitney that like,
Well, Whitney really, I mean, it's like she's bookended the season. Like she had like a huge start with Lisa and then a huge end with Lisa. And then she kind of got lost in the middle because there's so much other drama happening every episode.
Right.
So
Mary's dress, you kept apologizing. You kept regretting she had no neck with that cowl.
Just the way she was sitting, her neck disappeared.
Well, that cowl really hid her neck and made her look a little more stocky.
It was just...
But Angie looked great.
Like the hair, the makeup, the necklace, the fact that I love that Annie mentioned the fact that she and Brittany were wearing the same dress and Brittany had to change.
What little clips we saw of Brittany, because she hasn't been on yet, like that bleach job was a lot.
It's a lot.
Like it's as though she took every tip she had and frosted it.
It's not going to help like the dryness of her hair
or the high body count opinion.
Yeah,
because it looked really high body count to me.
I like the hair, like the extensions of it all, because it's like, big like reunion hair, or it's like long reunion hair, I guess I should say.
Right.
But the color is a little too light, I'd say.
But I mean, if that's who she is, if she's blonde and that's how she, sees herself, go for it. You mentioning extensions, you were saying that Lisa Barlow wouldn't stop touching her.
Actually, Lisa can't stop blinking and can't stop touching her weave. Like at all times. It was really like, let me flip it back, let me flip it back, let me like it's just like it's not just her. A lot of housewives do this, and it's just like, can you just let it go? Like, I feel like it was styled in a way so it wouldn't be in your face, it wouldn't be in your way. You could like fight, without having to touch it so much. But like, she cannot stop.
Well, I feel like it's got to be her security blanket of sorts. Where
it's a tick.
Right. I kind of want to rewatch at some point. Not that I ever will. I always say that, but like, I want to rewatch and to see like when knows she's full of it. Is she just like stroking her Rapunzel hair?
Yeah, like if she was on What Happens Live last week, and she was apparently doing it a ton. And maybe we didn't watch the episode, but someone commented that even Andy pointed it out at one point. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You often like don't. You often have visceral reactions to Lisa Barlow. You're just like, oh God. And I don't normally share that, but this whole episode, like when the fact that she started out talking over everybody. Like, it was like, I don't remember exactly what point it was, but it was a conversation between Angie and Heather. Is that who? Yeah.
Right. And she like considers like,
she considered herself and just made it so it was impossible to understand the other two of them. And it's like, was that her tactic? It was just, it just really was irritating. And then ever since that happened, this episode, I just cannot stop hearing the cadence and the diction of Lisa Barlow's conversation.
It's also, I was surprised that Andy pointed it out. Like, you keep talking over her. Like, he's trying to like get to, he knows that there's gonna be a lot of screeching between the couches, and he's trying to like, let's just have a civil conversation. Even like Whitney said, like, I just want to have a conversation with Lisa and let me get a word in,
right?
And if you're talking over somebody, you're not hearing them because you like, she walked into this reunion completely like shutting down in her mind Whitney and Bronwyn. She's just like done. I think she maybe will be willing to give Angie a chance, and she's whatever. There's no real beef there with Mary, and she's fine, of course, everybody on her couch. Right. So who tried to jump in and help her to no avail. But yeah, like, she really was like, nope, you don't exist. I can talk over you. Like, she thinks Whitney is nothing. That is my thing with Lisa Barlow. One of the things is that she just has this superiority complex of like, you are down there. I am so above you with everything I have, my G-Wagon, and like a new car's coming, and I have this, I have that. And it's like, you have things, but you don't have, it doesn't seem you have a lot of like, solid worth, self-worth.
Right.
You think like, very highly of yourself, but like,
she doesn't value. She doesn't put actual value into the things that she has.
Yes,
like she's one of the it's one of those things where it seems like she wants more, and like until like
she wants everyone to know. Literally, she's a case of like money's of like. Is it what money? Money
speaks. What is
wealth whispers? Like money is screaming for her.
Yeah, exactly.
She's screaming about her money. Yeah, just screaming it from the rooftops.
Yeah,
and it's just
Did we get everyone's looks in?
Yes.
The only other thing I need to say is that Whitney clearly spray tanned like an hour before.
Oh,
like,
so tan.
She was so tan.
So very.
And it wasn't so much like she's definitely, her body was tan, but her face was also like bordering Trump orange. And I was just like,
oh, don't say that.
No, it really was pretty bad.
It wasn't Trumpy.
It was.
His is very orange. She was just very dark,
borderline. And then I started comparing her because like Lisa and then Heather, they both tanned.
Lisa straight up tanned, right. Hardcore.
Heather, I think, laid off of it for a few days more. Yeah, she knew better. So
yeah, but yeah,
Whitney with those white teeth.
It was a lot. Like, I'm gonna get you. But yeah.
So I'm sorry. We're missing a lot of the.
Yeah. No, I think it was the beginning. It was like, the back and forth of like, when she wouldn't answer the question of what did your security team find? Well, she didn't provide me with an IP address. It's like, if he's that great of a security guy, he can like just dig it and find everything. He's like the Secret Service from how you make him seem.
Right. And also like, if you're so not involved in this and like you can stand in your truth, why do you need to be provided all this,
right.
outlets to evidence? Shouldn't you just have that?
Right. It was a yes or no question, and she just like was like, well, no, she needs to answer this, and it's like, okay, and they drop that, and then they go like the whole like back and forth with her and Angie, and which didn't really go anywhere. and they drop that, and then they get to like really the meat of it, the Bronwyn thing, and she should have just said I'm sorry and kept it moving. She wouldn't accept it. She wouldn't accept the hurt there. If not for Bronwyn, then for her daughter,
right?
You know, who you claim.
And she was given so many opportunities, just to say I'm sorry that it happened. But then she kept what I said, which kept like all lives mattering.
Yes,
she's like, oh well, there's hurt on both sides, and it's like, okay, even if you think that, and this is where Heather Gay pissed me off. Because Heather Gay was just like, you can't win this. Like the fact that they subtitled that, she has this. Like you just have to apologize. I mean, she was right, but for all the wrong reasons, I just really don't like that Heather like did that kind of analysis and was just like, if you want to come out good on this, you just have to.
Right. The second like she said miscarriage, that was her downfall of like bringing that up in the after show.
Right.
Like there's so many things that I know you hear off camera, but you don't need to bring them to camera, you know? And for Bronwyn, you know, she said.
Well, they heard it on camera. I mean, in that spa scene, she mentioned it. They showed that unseen footage.
But that was the unseen. Well,
right.
I guess they wouldn't have known what was going to be shown or not.
Exactly.
But still, it's like you should have just like left that, you know.
Well, also, like especially if you
off
have
the couch,
right? Especially if you have any sort of, you know, considerate bone in your body.
Because basically, what you're trying to say, without saying it, because you don't want to get your hands dirty, is that she faked the miscarriage to not have to be involved with Gwen's father's family,
right?
So she could go on with her life and just have her daughter because they didn't approve of her, blah blah blah,
right?
And she's saying she didn't do that, and so, you know, I don't understand like why it has to be. Yes, I know the family lost their son. They've gone through a loss of a child. That's horrible. But what we're talking about right now is the people in this room,
right? And
you hurting this person, your friend, your social friend, and not just willing to say like, you know, I'm sorry I hurt you, you know, I want to move forward. She doesn't want to move forward. That's what it comes down to.
Right. The silence there spoke volumes.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting that, like, I thought of any housewife I've seen in a very long time, I think Bronwyn answered that question very well. Like, in just saying, like, I thought we were closer friends than we actually are. Like, I thought, like, we actually were sharing things, but turns out this is just how Lisa Barlow is. She's just a social person, and, like, I was confused.
Lisa's like, I wasn't embedded in your life. Thank you for that word.
I just, the more and more I hear Lisa talk, the more and more, like, before I was just very ambivalent towards her, like, just like, okay, she's just, you know, not my cup of tea. But like more and more I hear her, it's just like, she's not a drinker. She's just like, I don't know how to explain it. She's just not, it's beyond a cup of tea. She just seems to be very selfish. And
I don't say not diabolical. That's too big.
That's too assertive.
But very calculating. Like, she is the one who's weighing, like, you know,
she's definitely out for herself.
Yes, very much so.
And I think that's probably
Lisa thinks she's the star of the show. Lisa thinks she's the queen bee, and the way these women treat her, you know. Yeah,
I think it was also very good of Bronwyn to realize, like, I was trying to at all costs fix a fracture between my friend and I that I thought was more serious than it was. That I ignored all the other people around me.
Yeah, I think we brought this up not with Salt Lake, but with another show, that, you know, not recognizing. Oh, Jacqueline on Potomac.
Oh, yeah.
She hasn't made an effort to make friends with everybody else, to make deep friendships because she's so focused on Mia.
Right.
Bronwyn was like, I need to fix this with Lisa. Like, I feel like we're better friends than this. And then everyone else, you know, like Whitney's saying, like, I'm there for you too. And she's like, oh, that's nice, but you know, whatever. I got to fix this with Lisa.
Well, and it makes sense for all the times that she sarcastically, like, oh, who thought I'd be friends with you guys?
Yeah.
And then she'd kind of had a side, and then she quickly turned. You know, I mean, quickly turned on Brittany. I understand, but
yes. But I feel like Angie and Whitney really did want to, you know,
right,
more of a friendship.
At the end, when she went out and told Lisa, like, oh, they were talking shit about you, like, that whole conversation, like, she was so quick to, Bronwyn was, like, throw them under the bus, where she was just so desperately trying to fix that friendship.
I feel like by then she should have known. By Mexico, she really should have known, like, this is not a real deep friendship.
I feel like again, it's just
They're historical
it's
facts.
so weird to have a really self-aware housewife.
Yeah.
Because even in the aftermath, she's like saying, like, now that she and Todd have watched this back, they're like realizing how they misstepped and like the things they should have done differently. Like, you really don't hear that. Or have you heard that in the past?
I will say, not to jump to the husband's part, because I also want to get to the whole Bronwyn Heather thing. I found their answers a little rehearsed.
Bronwyn and Todd?
Yeah, a little PR-y.
Oh,
we
like Candy met them and said, "Hey, let's get your camera ready."
Yeah, like basically, like, like we're working on this, and this is really like the whole housewife thing or a reality show thing in general. Like, oh, now that I've seen myself on camera, I've learned from that. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, it's how I can see how you could perceive that, but like we've been through so much and we've been together and we love each other, and that may not come across on camera, but there is that, and it just felt like they were definitely on the same page. And I feel like as they get to next week when they talk about the emotional affair, they will also be on the same page with that. They've had a chance to look back at this and watch the show and be like, okay, we need to take back the narrative. I think particularly Todd, because he is a person who's used to owning the narrative.
Right.
So yeah,
definitely they were doing damage control. I can see that.
That's why I was like, it felt too soon to bring the men out, because I want to get more into the lady drama, and then it just like it sidetracks everything when you bring a husband.
I think also just New Jersey has taught us you don't bring the men out in the first episode.
No,
men come out in the second
one,
and maybe the third. Yeah, but end of the second to the third.
Yes,
and even then for like maybe a third of the show.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because eventually we're going to get to the whole Meredith storming out when Andy talks about Seth's side piece. But yes, we'll get to that next week.
So you wanted to get to Bronwyn and Heather.
Yeah, and now Heather wouldn't own it. Like, she just like was doubling down, like, that's how I saw it. And like Whitney was like, I see how you can see that, but also, Bronwyn and I are cool.
That was totally a Whitney just like walking the fence. Like, I don't want to piss off Heather, but I can also see that.
Right, like Bronwyn and yeah. But yeah, like, just Heather, again, you had to sing for my supper. Why do you sound like an 80-year-old woman from Oklahoma? Like, I just like, no, you didn't. It was very obvious. Mary was invited, and there's no way Robert Sr. was going to be on that trip. So it wasn't going to be just couples,
right,
Heather. It was that she didn't feel comfortable with you for obvious reasons. It was about singing for your supper. It was about, let's get to a good place so we can all feel good about you coming on this trip. And you weren't taking that and going with it. So she was like, well, then you shouldn't have come on the trip. And you screwed yourself, Heather. Like, you didn't have to sing for your supper, but you could have like gone along to get along and made some money and been on that episode. But you weren't.
It was one episode or 2 episodes?
It was one.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
Might have been 2.
It was 2.
I think it was 2.
Did she have a little...
No, it doesn't matter on the... No, she just never...
Well, because there was the trip was a 2-part episode, but did they focus on her back in Salt Lake?
I don't know. We didn't have the Zach and what's-her-face in the valley, while they're Big Bear.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think she lost out on the money for 2 episodes.
But I I don't think that's reason for her to go along, get along. I mean, I get what you're saying, but...
But not just... Well, also, you missed out on so much not being on a trip. Right. And like having camera time.
I think.
And for someone who is so in control and wants to be in control, like Heather, and is placed as the narrator of the show and thinks of herself in that way, I would think she would have done anything to be on that trip.
Well, apparently that's where she should do anything for Housewives, but she won't do that. So, yeah, I mean, it does make me wonder. I don't think Heather... There must have been some weird vibe going on when she got there that she was like, well, this feels like a setup. Like, I don't think she's that paranoid. So I wonder, like, what truth there is.
When her guard is up. I don't think the Bronwyn was saying. I think just Heather's guard is up from the Monica thing.
Oh. I have a hard time believing that that worked up over that.
I think it is. It's dumb to us, but, like, to them, I think it's very much the gospel. I'm surprised she didn't, like, when Whitney brought up Monica on the
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah. I'm surprised Heather didn't like wring her neck. Like, she, like, the fact that even saying her name.
Tongues.
Yes. Seriously. Like, she is so bothered by Monica, like more so than Lisa.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure.
Huh. Yeah. I never really thought about that at all.
Oh, the backup dancer of it all. Like, what was Angie like so focused on that?
Yeah, that was a little weird. Like, I mean, it just seemed like she was picking like I'm nobody's backup dancer. It just seemed like it was a weird shtick to...
I feel like she felt that Meredith, and rightfully so, being snobby Meredith, was trying to downgrade her. Like, oh, she's just some like little backup dancer. Angie thinks of herself as more than that, because she is more than that. She owns businesses. Right. She's a pillar of the community. And for like to be dismissed as like a backup dancer, it wasn't it was just like again, Meredith and Lisa are so good together because they think of everyone else be like below them. Right. And it's that attitude.
I think that's really what it came down to, is that I think Angie was trying to point out what's wrong with... That's the problem, is that Angie could have been like, what's wrong with being a backup dancer? But instead she was like making it seem like very much that it was a derogatory thing. But I think
it was a fun little video. She wasn't a backup dancer. It was like a fun little video. They were all just like dancing around. Like, I don't think it was even TikTok. I think it was like before TikTok.
Well, it was probably during TikTok, but it was probably like just posted everywhere. That
it was 2020.
Probably on YouTube, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a weak thing for Angie to focus on, but at the same time, like, it just shows... I think she was trying to show how Meredith is just not creative in her digs. Like, so what? I was backup dancing, and like you could have come up with something better, but like Angie didn't play that very well at all.
Yeah, but I also see like how just Meredith is so damn snobby. It irks me.
And yeah.
Because I want to be like, who are you?
And she's really not contributing much to this so far. And if you think about all the reunions, she really doesn't until the very last moment.
Meredith is a second, third seat chick. Like, she is never going to be first seat. Nope.
Yeah. And I think also, she's going to have a place, I think, next season, because I think there's definitely that fandom of Meredith's, ate that up, all that stuff. But I don't think, unless she brings it, she has much more past that. Like, I think when they start reevaluating where the weak links are, she's going to be one of the first ones to be pointed out, unless she starts.
Right. I think because she's so memeable, like, she's still like riding high on the rumors, much like Heather with
timeline. Yeah.
So she's very quirky and out of touch, and they love that on Housewives. So it only goes so far that when you don't have a legitimate storyline, though.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they're setting up for next season, is that they're going to bring up this whole Seth thing, and that could be something they can focus on for next season.
But she doesn't want to focus on it. She's going to run away from it.
Well, maybe that's what we're led to believe. Who knows?
She's never going to focus on that.
I agree with you. I'm just saying maybe they're going to make something happen where nothing exists.
Like she and Seth will try to... No, she'll just do her boring thing like she does every season.
Yeah. I feel like we're missing some other parts.
Well, actually...
so I thought it was a little rude. It did stimulate some conversation, but it was still a little rude for them to read that comment about Heather to Heather. Like, right?
You got skinny, you got mean.
Yeah. Like, I feel like again, the way we try to keep appearances off limits here. Yeah. Like, your natural appearance should not be subject. What you're wearing and like choices you make, definitely. But I feel like Heather losing the weight should not be something, a fodder for the show. Like, I get that, like, if the Housewives made it that, fine. Well, not fine, but I feel like for Andy to bring that up from a viewer, that seems bitchy of Bravo to be doing.
Well, that's what they do.
Relevant as it might be.
Yes. I don't think she's changed. I think her actions made me dislike Heather. Like, she really fell off for a lot of people in the third season when she like couldn't keep a story straight about the black eye. And then I felt her attitude and at the end of season 4 really pissed me off, and her actions at the reunion. And I was like, I'm over her.
Right.
So I came into the season being over her. I'm fine with Heather. It's definitely not my irritation I feel for Lisa and Meredith, but that couch can like stay there where they at.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think she changed. I don't think she became meaner. I think it's just,
I think what she and Mary were talking about.
Yeah, I think she was really only Bronwyn she really took an attitude with, So,
well, because she was the new one that was out of place.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're right when she's like this whole Monica thing really affected her. Like any newbie is screws with her head, and she's really protective of that. That makes sense.
The whole confidence thing, where she's like, I had was she saying I had to work and really on being confident when she was bigger, but now it's easier. I didn't.
Well, I mean, I think
I got a little lost in this.
I got a little lost there too, but I think that like, with all of our body images and stuff, like, I think if you look more like what you want to look like and you feel more confident and more, not enabled, but
self-assured.
There's that whole
empowered.
Yeah, empowered. Thank you. When you're more empowered to like say what's on your mind, because like you feel like this is the person who I am. Like you look in the mirror and you see what you see yourself as looking back. Like I can see that playing a part just in any sort of self-image situation. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what she was saying. Like I agree. Like I liked what Mary said about her. I thought that was sweet. The kind of for her to say like she's always been like this, but she's just never really presented it very much because she didn't feel like she could. And now that she feels more confident with how she appears, she this is how she is.
Well, also it's interesting because like when they were reading each other's texts in the finale, like Mary had the opposite point of view, but I think like maybe hearing from Heather at that time, now she's like, oh, okay, I understand better, and you're right, you have changed it for the better, since I first met you. So
I get that.
Got it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I think that was everything before the men came out. And
right. The men.
Todd, like leading with shade, like
that was beautiful.
It's like you don't even know my name, but you have so much to say about me, or you think you have these ideas about me. And Heather wanted to be
What's so funny is like neither of us can remember the name she called him.
It was something, not even a T name. It was so completely like
I want to say it was like Roger or something.
Something like that. Another like kind of like
old man. Have you ever met a Roger in your real life?
No, I only know Roger Howarth or Roger Thorpe.
Proper characters?
Well, actor and character.
Okay. I've never met a Roger. I work with a Ted now, which seems like an old guy's name. But
I don't know a Ted.
Because I always think...
I do know a Ted, but like it's short for...
Theodore?
No. Edward.
Yeah, that's the one name I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew a Ted a long time ago, and I was like, his real name's Edward? I didn't know that was a short name.
I think the Kennedys made us aware of that.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I think Ted, I think of One Life to Live. One Day to... What was the show with Ted? What was Jim J. Bullock? What show was that?
Oh. Why am I... Knots Landing.
Why are we both blanking on that?
It's not One Day at a Time, but it is, Jim J. Bullock, and they were in San Francisco. Too Close for Comfort.
Thank you very much. Wasn't that Ted? Wasn't that the actor's name?
That's the actor's name.
Yeah, that's right.
That was his character's name on Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess that's why I think old guy meant Ted. So,
but yeah, Todd, Ted.
But I think she called him Roger.
Something like just completely opposite of his name. So for him to bring that up, and then also when he said, like ninth grade conversations, and then Mary guffawed, it was like, not ninth grade conversation.
I couldn't tell if she was trying to say like it's not even a ninth grade. It's like less than that.
No, she was like, it was more like that they always do on like Atlanta, or I do it with you. It's like, not ninth grade.
So it was more like she was like giving him like, all right, that was a good
one.
Okay.
Yes.
God, I think I would be honored if I made Mary Cosby laugh. God, why am I even saying that? Last season I was over her and
now I'm like, she's gone.
The magic of whatever she's doing. I like that they addressed why Robert Sr. wasn't there.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I think as long as she kept doing everything and sharing stuff, they're like, okay, we don't need to see your husband because we're seeing so much of your son too.
Right.
So she was a fully formed housewife, thus she could be full time.
Right.
If she just come on and done trips and like was like, and like picked and choose what she wanted to do, she would still be friend of.
Oh, for sure.
So like she and Brittany Oh God, Bailey.
What happened to her?
Oh, he took her picture down.
So many times throughout all 4 of these franchises, I kept forgetting which one Maylee was on. I was like, wait, was she on Beverly Hills? Was she over here on Potomac?
She needs to give an interview where she really explains, because it's so much
I don't
hearsay.
think she wants to do that.
Okay, because
it was all about her husband, though, wasn't it?
But also the things she had said too.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think she wants to do that.
But you think she'd want to like set the record straight, because these women often want to do that.
Should we invite her on our podcast?
That's our first guest. We break the Maylee story.
Oh, God. I don't know that I want to be.
I don't want to be associated with that. No, that's the wrong kind of. That's like doing a jailhouse like conversation with Jen Shaw.
I also feel like she'd choose us. Well, black guy, white guy, gay guys. I think I got the trifecta right there.
I can't look bad.
Yeah, and like, oh, I bet you we can make that happen.
Yeah, it can get real awkward.
No, I think again,
they didn't get very far with the men before cutting to, because there's a whole, like, as we already discussed, the whole Bronwyn Todd thing.
Right.
And then they get right to the, what's your tone? No, you watch your tone.
For John, I mean, I don't know. I feel like
John was ready with that talking point. She gave that to him.
Right. I feel
because he was like, who are you talking about? Who said something? And it's like he baited him.
Like, you don't imagine that before any of this happened, Lisa Barlow was like, you better defend me every chance you get.
Oh, for hell, sure.
And just like made it very clear that if you are not, we are going to get a divorce.
Like, John Barlow, in so many ways, is the complete opposite of Bill on New Jersey. How Jen would always say,
yeah.
Well, Jen would always say, like, you didn't have my back. You weren't sticking up for me. Like, he is like, he will like literally lay down on the road so Lisa can step on him and not get mud on her Manolos. Like, he is ride or die. Horrible parallel Parker for Lisa Barlow. And it's
ridiculous. I also need to back up a moment and just say, I think I'm not any of these. I'm not religious. I'm not very spiritual. I just feel like Lisa Barlow being this Mormon 2.0 and also Jewish and also tequila, like Lisa Barlow just seems to be like, I can be everything I want to be. And
I forget that she's Mormon.
Right. She just slips in. Oh, shit. She just slips in and out of whatever religion or whatever talking point suits her at the time. And that kind of bothers me. Like, it doesn't really bother me, but it kind of like, it's just very convenient that like, in a place like Salt Lake, where we've learned through, the show and also other shows, is very insular. And I'm saying that based off of Soul and SLC. But clearly, you say something.
Small Lake City.
Right, exactly. I'm just like, it's very insular. Like, the fact that she's like, oh, I have a tequila brand, but I'm also Mormon, but I'm also Jewish. Like, it's just like, pick a lane. And I'm not saying people can't be, multifaceted, but she really seems to win a place. She seems to be like really picking and choosing what she wants to present herself as.
Well,
it's good for her. But...
yeah, I think after the whole Meredith bat mitzvah thing, I'm going to bow out of
that. That makes sense.
That's why I'm being very quiet. Like, not that I know. I totally think what you're saying. I see your point of view for sure, but I'm just like, I'm going to leave religion over to the side.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I don't know, like, again, at least Meredith, I mean, not that you have to declare yourself, but like Meredith at least celebrated this. Lisa doesn't seem to celebrate one thing or the other. She just seems to like flaunt it as though it's an accessory to her personality.
Yeah, I think, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
that's where I think the difference is.
It doesn't seem, it seems, it's not presentational, very performative. Yes.
Yeah. Or at least Heather, as much as she's not Mormon and
Mormonism is engraved in Heather's being.
Right.
So much so that she finds it like there's this inner conflict always brewing in Heather of who she wants to be and who she was, and valuing the tenets, but also being like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
And wanting the love and acceptance of her family, but realizing that she can't be what they want her to be. Like, I will always, give grace to Heather, because that's a lot of swirling,
a lot of trauma
in one person.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And the fact that like evidenced by like that last few episodes when Brittany was like the shame and everything. Heather kicked in and was just like, I get how that works. You don't see that with Lisa. Like, and maybe that's just a different part of Lisa's personality. She doesn't want to like talk about that, but like at the same time, it seems very performative.
You know what it is? It's that you don't get a lot of depth from Lisa Barlows.
What a surprise. What the hell you say?
It's very kiddie pool. She is in Ashley's kiddie pool. Like there's just not like, we're not going to get any sort of, I'm surprised she actually cried real tears tonight.
Yeah. I didn't want to turn because I'd already been yapping a little bit. I want to turn like, wow, that's an actual tear.
Yes. Like she was wiping. Normally she's just like
yeah. I don't
looking herself in the eye almost to make herself cry, but those were tears, which, you know, she was feeling that feeling.
Again, I don't feel like, I think when we talk about Ramona's crocodile tears, I think that those are very like performative, like she's trying to be emotional. I think Lisa gets emotional. I think she's actually feeling the feeling, but I feel like she's feeling it in the way that toddler feels a feeling. That's just like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And she starts to cry.
Right.
She doesn't know why she's crying.
Right.
She just knows that something intense is happening around her and she starts to cry. I don't know if that makes me a horrible person, but I really feel like it's
like I'm getting to the crying place, but like nothing's coming out. I
should feel bad. Like
it's also very convenient when she gets choked up. It's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm getting very emotional. So it's also
this is the first, like tonight, seeing her actually cry that tear. I thought of the times like I've been like weirdly uncontrollably emotional in my life, and like I get that like things hit you when you least expect it. But I don't...
They hit her a lot.
Yes. And conveniently when a camera is aimed at her.
Yes. And she's backed into a corner.
Right.
Yes.
So, again, I think that might be more fight or flight than an emotion. But... yeah.
Fight or flight.
I mean, again, all these things being said, I would like to actually see what she's all about. And... I don't think we've seen that. I don't know that I necessarily care to at this point. Like, I'm not going to hang on like faithful viewer for 5 more seasons. Like, oh, I just can't wait for Lisa Barlow to be real. Like, get to it or don't. I'm not going to necessarily stand on her for being the way she is. I think the way that she is a little...
We're not going to get more from Lisa than she wants to give us.
And that's where I think it's bullshit. It's
she's not a well-rounded housewife in that respect.
Right. Like, yeah. I mean, she's given great TV. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, will this last? I guess what I'm saying, will this last 5 more years? Like, I think if 5 more years of Lisa doing this, and
well, because it becomes a shtick. Like, I think Meredith very much so is a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
It's always hard to say that word. And she has a shtick, and she has like catchphrases, but they don't make a complete.
But how long will that last?
Exactly.
Whereas I think what we're getting from Bronwyn in one season,
is so
already
much.
We're like, you can see the possibilities. Angie in her few seasons, so much possibility.
Yes.
Heather, despite what she's done, still gives you diversity. And Whitney is falling off of it, but I think you can tell Whitney has more to offer.
And she gave a lot in the past season.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all Lisa and Meredith keep doing is the same thing over and over again, which is what's pissing us off about Potomac, with Giselle doing the same thing over and over again, with Mia doing the same thing. All these franchises, they just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, the common denominator is that they're producing themselves.
Right.
If you just like go in, someone said it, that, it's such a, like, you on a reality show, you're just being yourself. Like, you're showing up and that's your job. And I feel like these examples, they're not being themselves. So it's like, you're not really doing your job. You're giving us like iconic moments,
right?
I suppose, but like, I don't feel for you. I don't feel anything for you. Not anything. It's hard to feel something for you. Right. I should say that.
I think where it ends up being the dividing line is like, are you watching this for a soundbite? Or are you watching this for a long-term storyline? And like, I think you and I, being soap opera people, like, we want to see that long-term storyline. We want to see growth. We want to see character development and change. Like, I think we're way too cinematic with all of this.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there are a lot of people who just watch this for the memes, for the sound bites, and like, oh, I can't believe she ate, she read her up and down like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like, even with, one of our favorites on Potomac, Candace, if all she ever did was read people up and down, you'd be like, okay, you can read people. You can read them to filth, but what else do you got? Whereas I think there's a lot of people that don't ask that question. And so what we have...
And with Candace, she like gave us, her marriage and her motherhood journey.
Right.
And just her relationship with her mother.
Career.
Her music career, yes. Like she was like, this is my life, I have stuff going on.
Right.
So maybe they just don't have stuff going on, or they just don't want us to see
what's really going on.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, again, as much as we might say, like, oh, I can't stand Lisa, can't stand Meredith, like, I would, as evidenced by Mary Cosby, I would think completely opposite if they actually brought something to the show other than whatever this personality is that they're curating.
Yeah.
So.
No, sure. Like, we just finally got the root of Mary Cosby.
I don't think we got the root of Mary Cosby.
I think we got closest, like with her telling about her childhood, her mom, her dad leaving.
I think as the head of a church, she's still on a show.
Oh, there's still something.
Still performing.
You're right. It may not be the root, but like so much more than we have starting off of season 1.
Yeah. No, and I think it's weird, like, to think of the show itself as like a, journey to them, but like, I think they're slowly not etching, but chipping away at her wall, and she's just being like, okay, maybe I can be more myself. So
I'm sure next week they're going to get deep into that. Is that a cat?
That was her cat sneezing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. I was like, I didn't know if it was a hairball situation.
It might have been a hairball. No, I think it was sneezing.
Okay.
So clearly I've been rambling. I'm sorry. And
No.
Yeah.
No, it's like it distracted me. I was like, cat?
So we didn't see Brittany in her horrible highlights, but not everyone else. Whitney didn't have much. Do you think Whitney's going to have much at all in this reunion?
I think, they'll go.
Oh, that's true with the Lisa and...
Right, and the Meredith of it all. I think we'll get more into Mary, more into Whitney.
We'll have to talk about Meredith's bat mitzvah.
Right. I think in her storming out about the whole Seth thing. And the fight between Justin and John.
Do you think Meredith's going to take any more ownership and like snap judging the whole Angie Brittany thing, or?
Now that she hates Brittany more, yes.
Why did she hate Brittany more?
Because of the recording thing.
Oh.
Yes. And the alleged bugs in her. Yeah.
God, okay. Now you reminded me why Meredith's ridiculous.
Yes.
Very
big
much
time.
So.
Big time.
All right. Well, this is a good episode. Like, again,
it was a good story.
I'm usually very like worried about reunion episodes because like, how do we talk about something we've already talked about? But like, I think that Salt Lake just keeps giving. Like,
maybe things can like come up and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That hasn't happened yet. What I expected has happened, but I'm looking forward to more and maybe some resolution.
I feel like they talked about things that happened, and while you said they moved on from a lot, I feel like they gave enough into it, and like enough people like owned up to their part in it.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as they could have, but I think that like, I feel a little satisfaction for what we've seen so far, and like, I'm hopeful of the next 2 episodes.
Same.
So, that all being said, till next time.
Till next time.
Okay.